I think most players are saying there will be some moderation from the rip-roaring growth that the company has seen during the pandemic, and maybe that's reflected in the stock today.
Yeah, as you said, it's difficult for me to be eloquent about the day-to-day movements of the stock or of any stock for that matter, because in the macro, as you said, it was an unbelievable fiscal year 21 for us, and having 50% top line growth at this scale, going up to $1.5 billion in revenue, we feel really good about the growth. I think from a standpoint of the short-term movements, it's an area where I don't think we have a lot of insight for you. I do think that people are always going to be focused on when you've had that kind of growth, is it pandemic specific? In our case, we think people aren't going back to pen and paper. We think once they've seen the opportunity to modernize their business and digitally transform their business, they're going to be staying with DocuSign and continuing to transform their businesses going forward.
Was my initial thought exactly, Dan. And I'm not, not trying to promote the company, but I can see how there's a lot of other things that we got, had to do at home because of the pandemic. I would like to never go person to person to sign whatever needs. It's so much more convenient or to use snail mail to print something out, fill it out, sign it, scan it, send it, all that stuff. It's so, and when people don't have DocuSign now, I almost ask them, what's your problem? Why don't you have DocuSign? Now, the next step, so I don't think people go back to doing it the old way. So in that regard, you should be, but then again, I don't know how much growth you can actually generate since everybody's sort of, I think notarized stuff, and that's something you're working on, right?
Yeah. I think when you think about the overall sign business, we do think it's going to continue to grow, and we've given guidance that we're going to go from now about $1.5 billion to $2 billion in our range for the coming year. So we do think there's a significant amount of growth ahead. We look at it from a TAM standpoint, John. We look at it about a $25 billion business for sign, and we have the dramatic market share lead in the market. And so from that standpoint, we're really still in the early innings of this game, and we think there's a lot of growth. On the one hand, it's what you say, some of the observation, particularly in the United States. People say, hasn't everyone already gone to DocuSign? And the answer is, we're coming up on 900,000 customers, so that's a lot. But when you think of all the businesses around the world, it's a lot more than 1 million businesses. So we think there's a lot of growth ahead. And the only thing I'd add to you, it's also just beyond signature. If you think about our DocuSign Agreement Cloud, where you bring in notary as another component of sign, but you've also got the CLM market, the way you manage agreements, the way people prepare agreements. There's a lot of growth ahead for this business.
So what type of penetration would you estimate you have right now in this country and then globally? Is it single digits? It's got to be more than that.
We think it's single digit penetration for that TAM in the U.S., high single digit in the U.S., and probably low to mid single digits depending on which other countries you're in around the world. So we've got a lot of growth ahead. And I think the theme you really hit on, which is right, it's the way we're moving into what we like to call the anywhere economy. And we think that the phenomenon is people aren't going to, even in a post, pandemic, they aren't going to say, now I want to, get in my car or send the mail or do any of the components you described. They're going to say, I want to be able to do this, anywhere, anytime. And that's what we think we're going to play into as a continued growth.
It's got nothing to do with the notary guy having COVID. It's got to do with driving down. It's got nothing to do with the pandemic. It's got to do with ease of doing this. So are you constantly thinking of innovation? You said you want to do where every single agreement, whatever it is, between two parties could be done through DocuSign. What else is there? Instead of just better penetration for what you do now, what else are you looking at in notary? What else are you looking at in terms of innovation? Is there another complete area that could open up for your company?
Yeah, I think we look at notary, to your point, which we're super excited about in our sort of first-party notary, and that's where sort of a bank or financial institution effectively has their own notary. They want to notarize document with you to open a trust, perhaps, for your kids. That's what we've just rolled out our beta, and now we're going to general release this quarter. And then what you were describing a little bit earlier is the idea of third-party notary, where two individuals or two businesses want to create an agreement and notarize it, and they want to actually have that opportunity to be done by a third-party notary. They don't have a notary themselves. That's a smaller part of the market, but we'll have that out by the end of the year. So that's going to be a big growth area for us in the signature type world, if you will, additional documents, additional agreements that can be notarized. But I think the even bigger piece that effectively doubles that TAM from 25 billion is this opportunity, the way people prepare agreements, the way they manage them. So we see a lot of our larger customers come to us and say, I need a repository for all those agreements. Now that I'm using DocuSign, where do I keep all those digital agreements? And then how do I analyze them? And so our acquisition, last year, Seal Software, to bring in that artificial intelligence and that advanced analytic capability, so people can run their business better in their overall agreements. Those are the areas where we see the biggest growth.
Are there holes in what you offer? Are there synergies in other companies that you would acquire to add to your list of offerings? And would you? I mean, you're pretty expensive now. I don't know anyone's going to buy you, but if there's any M&A, you'll be the buyer, and where would you look? And you must have competitors, I guess, don't you? But you're the leader in the field.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the different parts of the business. I'll give you a quick overview. I think in the signature business, as you said, we are the dramatic market share leader, and we talk about competition in signature. We tend to think about it as being paper. Is what you described earlier, Joe, paper and manual processes. That's what we're really fundamentally competing with. And there's just a lot of headroom there to continue to grow, as we talked about with the low penetration. From a standpoint of M&A, to add to that, unlikely we would probably buy companies that were signature related because of the dramatic lead we have, not only in market share, but also in product. Right? We spend more in R&D than anyone else has in revenue in the space. So from that standpoint, less so. I think when you think about that broader parts of the agreement cloud, things like CLM, where people are managing their contracts across the life cycle, we definitely have competitors. I think we're more likely to not sort of buy a true competitor, but look across that overall, what we call agreement cloud, and say, where are there little niche bits of capability that people have just built some domain expertise, maybe gotten a little bit of traction, and we think it'd be faster. And that's what we've done with our prior acquisitions to get to serving our customers better with that full suite they're asking us to deliver than it would be to build it ourselves. I don't see us, there's not sort of like, blockbuster M&A probably in our future, but continuing to buy little small pieces that tuck in and add to our overall agreement cloud vision.
Okay. Got it. Dan Springer, DocuSign CEO. Yeah, we're going to talk about another reverse of the stay-at-home, but like I said, I'm not sure it is. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back.
No one wants to go back.
I don't want to go back to the way it was. I don't care.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.